Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. Stan O'Loughlin, Board President, present.
I'll kick it off later. Robert Perry.
Madeline Messina.
Jill Sarita.
Evan Tobias.
Megan Leach.
Ellen Vermagny.
Thank you, everybody.
Dave's online.
Sorry, Gabe. You're in the metaverse, so I forgot about you. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our mission statement is that the mission of ECS is to educate each student to high academic standards using innovative curricula that will foster knowledge, love of, and respect for the environment and preserve it for future generations. We grow citizens. Our vision: every ECS graduate will be an actively engaged citizen, driving thoughtful change in the world around them. I believe today we have a celebration. Is that correct?
Well, we don't have a celebration, but I would like to thank Tanya and Josh for their work organizing the new layout of the room.
I'll celebrate that.
Yeah, that is definitely worth a celebration. There was some discussion about making it a little bit friendlier for the viewers and for the folks in the audience, and to make it a little clearer about the public comments and where they were coming from and all that sort of stuff. So really excited about the work that they did along with our facilities team to make this possible.
Okay, terrific.
But we do have a public comment.
We do have a public comment. Okay. I'd like to then invite Coach Rob Van Reenen, public comment.
That was pretty good. I got one of those.
Yeah, you're
I
good.
like one of those. Those nice. I'm talking this evening on behalf of our student athletes, some of probably students, and on behalf of some of our local pizza shops. I'm here tonight. This past fall, early like November, December, we had a meeting with Patrick about going with community kitchen of Pittsburgh with all our meals. We had a heated conversation at the high school about we'd like to feed the high school athletes. Specifically at that point, it was cheer and it was basketball. They had some time in between end of school and late games. So we tried to decide, we had done pizza in the past. We had some good conversations. We ended up working with Nikki in food services. We had lunches. We tried to make them a little more from the start to the beginning. They got better. We worked together, and for me, that worked out good. I think we still have some things we could improve in, but I think if I looked at the kids from day one to the last couple of days where kids would ask for sandwiches if there were leftover sandwiches. So that was a good thing. At first, we weren't sure how that was going to work. High school kids, very particular about what they eat and what they like to eat. I don't know where the decision was made to go. At some point, it seemed like everything had to go through community kitchen. We did after school for our middle school students when there were no parents involved. We would go field up there, we would buy pizza, and we would have pizza parties. Kids would love the pizza parties. Friday is the final day of our ski club. It has been tradition at ski club that the last night, the last day of ski club, we've provided pizza. So I'm requesting, I would like to maybe reconsider for at least this upcoming Friday. The prices at some point were raised by $5, the cost of the ski club, so we could provide pizza. It's difficult to bring anything that community kitchen unless we bring back lunches to ski club. We go like 45 minutes to Holiday Valley. So I would ask if on Friday, I'm not sure who to address, if it's just Patrick or if this was a board decision. I think it's a big decision. If we could provide pizza on Friday. I also would like to see if we can reconsider for athletics. When there's no families involved, we have a big year, and the first year Michelle was there for high school volleyball, and they were here at some point to be celebrated for the first girls sport. Our basketball and our cheer, we went to Rosanna House and we had that catered. I'm talking with Nikki to see what the cost is on that, and we would still go through because the numbers involved are much larger. We're talking between 100 and 150 attendees. But I would like to, pizza party for athletics has also been a tradition for the last 3-4 years, where at the end of the season to celebrate, to do something special for the kids, and that always has been a pizza party. I talked with Nikki a little bit about other options. I'm not sure, but if I was a middle school kid, a fruit platter, a vegetable platter, a cheese platter doesn't sound the same as a pizza party. Also, and including myself, also I find that for some of the kids, it's really special. Some of the kids we serve, right, they're weeks ahead. When is our end of the season? When is our pizza party? And some kids don't always get that at home. It's not a given that every Friday or whatever in the year, it's a special. And for us to celebrate the kids, and not the parents, but the kids that come out and commit to the programs and make our programs what they are and the numbers we have, those are things that I just wanted to bring up. And again, I did not know where the decision totally was coming from. I just would like us to reconsider that there might be times where pizza might be something that is appropriate.
Thanks.
That's all.
Thank you. That's the only one, is that right? So we'll move on to the mission moment, and I will yield the floor to Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, or Stanley. Sorry. So as you all may remember, February 5th was the lottery for the Environmental Charter School. And we thought it would be a good idea to ask Christine Adams, who is the I don't know what to call her, the person extraordinaire who manages all of this work. And it is a very large task. But Christine Adams, as you know, is our Director of Enrollment. She's been doing this work for many years. I'll say that it's really very impressive, but I'll let her tell you really how impressive it is. She's got a little presentation, which you have in front of you. We weren't sure how this was going to work, so we printed it out, but it is also going to be on the screen behind you, so you can see it in both ways. So
Yeah.
Christine, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Adams, the Director of Enrollment, and I've been here, I think this is my second or eighth year. So the first year we used Schoolmint was my first year here. So that's our enrollment software system. And it's been a great benefit for us to have it because of the transparency that it gives us. But I'll go over a little bit about our lottery. That's not on the screen. So let me put that back on the screen.
Good.
Okay, so the main philosophy of the lottery is to make sure that we ensure fairness and accessibility for all students. So one of the things that Schoolmint does is it's an online program. If anyone does need support or does need to come into the school, we offer that for anyone that does need that. But by moving to an online software system, it also is easier for parents to upload documents. It's also easier for, they can just take a picture and upload the proof of residency and the birth certificate. And so it is accessible to everyone. When we initially looked at going into Schoolmint, we looked at that. But even the cost of copying a stamp and going to the mailbox. So we did move into the lottery-based software system that ensures that fairness and accessibility to all students and families. So when we prepare for the lottery, we have the pre-lottery, which is go into the system, and me and Ailish, my partner in this enrollment department, we verify all preferences in the lottery. So we have to verify all in-district, and we also have to verify all sibling preference. So anyone that applies for sibling preference, we have to make sure that their birth certificate, one or two or more parents in common. And so we have to look at all the proofs of residency, make sure those match, especially if they're getting in-district preference. We have to make sure that the proof of age matches. And we do the proof of grade verification in grades 3 through 10. So we have to make sure that the kids that are applying are in the correct grades. Because sometimes what happens is people might want to retain their students, their children, and so they apply for the wrong grade. So if they're in 3rd grade, they have to apply for 4th grade, unless we get notification from the school that they are going to be retained. We ran the lottery February 5th, and we run it through Schoolmint. We record the lottery, so if anyone has any questions about the lottery, they can watch the recording. We monitor the progress in real time for transparency. And then after the lottery, we verify the results before finalizing it. So it was myself, Kristen Agehouse, Michelle Resnick, we were all, Ailish Ludi, we were all in the room as we ran the lottery to make sure that everything was running correctly. And then once we run the post-lottery, we notify all families through Schoolmint of their admission status, so whether they were accepted or waitlisted. If you are waitlisted, you log into Schoolmint to see your waitlist number. And then we have some onboarding events for new families coming up in March, so we set those up to help parents make that decision on whether or not they want to come to ECS. And then we do manage the registration, so the state of Pennsylvania says that we need a health history. We need to know if children get any special services. There's an attachment A form that's the state of Pennsylvania says that all students must have. And that says that either you've been suspended or expelled. A release of records so we can get those records from the other school, and the home language service services, which would be if any child has ESL services. And then we manage the wait list throughout the whole year. Throughout the whole upcoming year, and we would take kids off the wait list as slots become available. And then we are a charter school that's authorized by the Pittsburgh Public Schools, and therefore Pittsburgh Public School students get preference in our lottery. So we do have the following preferences. We have sibling attending, and that goes in district, and then it goes sibling attending out of district. So if you kind of think of our lottery as boxes, the first one is sibling attending in district, sibling attending out of district. Then we have an employee preference, and that also goes in district and then out of district. And then we have a sibling chosen in open enrollment. So if you applied before the deadline, it's January 17th, if your sibling gets pulled, your other sibling would move up on the wait list. That families will have kids in the school at the same time. We don't want to have to wait a whole other year before they would get into our school, because that was creating some problems, having kids in two different schools. It doesn't always work out, but hopefully it would work out for families. Then we have our main box would be in district, and then our other box would be out of district. And so that's how we run the lottery. We start in kindergarten and we move up through 10th grade currently. And so we got 614 applications this year, which was up from 569. So we definitely did better this year with the amount of applications we got. You can see that our kindergarten stayed about the same. Most of the grades stayed about the same. 6th grade, we did have a huge increase in enrollment for our applications. Last year we had 56, and this year we had 95. And we had 71 of those applications as PPS students. And last year we only had 36. So we basically doubled the in-district applications for the 25-26 school year. So that's very, very exciting news. And so you can see on this chart, basically our applications, you can see we get the most applications for kindergarten, and it kind of dips down, and then we have a spike in 6th grade. We have a spike in applications. A lot of the PPS schools, K through 5, kids are looking to transition to another school. So we had really a good spike this year in the 25-26 applications. And then we do have a little bit of a spike in 9th grade. So that's a transitional year too. But our applications have stayed steady over the last 3 years. And so when we look at the PPS applications to the total applications, you can see it's stayed very consistent over the last 3 years too. And so when we look at our enrollment and we look at the number of students that are coming from different areas, we can see the tuition rates and how this affects our tuition. So I know that Michelle spends lots of time trying to predict our budget. And so, if we have a steady Pittsburgh Public School students, those are the tuition rates we get, and they don't come out till January. So some of the schools put them out November, December, January. So those are the tuition rates for this year. And so they can change. So we're really, if we have a steady percent of students from Pittsburgh Public Schools, it helps with our budget too, to figure out like how many, the budget's going to be. So that's kind of what the school districts that we come from. So all these school districts that are on there, we have students living in those school districts. And those are the regular ed rates and the special ed rates. So you can see the difference in each of the school districts that we have students coming from. And then we do have students that get in and then move to other districts. So we do have that fluctuation too. And then if we look at the PPS percentages, so we have about 70% of 68% of our students in kindergarten who apply are from PPS. And you can see the difference in the K1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it stayed steady over the last 3 years. And then still the same about in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. But we did have that spike in 6th grade this year, so that's exciting. Our top 5 school districts by numbers. So Pittsburgh Public School is our largest amount of students, followed by Woodland Hills, then Wilkinsburg, Penn Hills, and then West Mifflin School District. And then there are our zip codes, so 15221 and 15206 and 15217 are our top 3 zip codes, followed by 15235. So 15235 is mostly Penn Hills, and just a tiny bit is PPS. So that gives you an idea of where our students are coming from. And then if you look at this map, this is all the applications that were submitted. So you can see that we have the purple is the Pittsburgh Public School Zone. And then you can see we do get a lot within where our schools are concentrated in. So the East End, which extends over to the Penn Hills, Woodland Hills school districts. And then this is just a slide showing our sibling and professional preferences. So those are the other preferences in the lottery. So you can see that kindergarten has our most preferences. We had mostly in-district sibling applying, then we had some out of district. We had in-district professional, we only had one this year, and then we had 3 out-of-district professionals for kindergarten. And so you can see the ones in the preferences that we gave in the upper grades. So does anyone have any questions?
Has our process ever been audited?
We used
Or
to get
contested for that matter?
what, yeah.
Or contested by a family?
So not since, we used to have the county firm audit it every year. But with the use of the school mint, it's very transparent. So you can go back and look at any of the numbers. You can pull the original lottery that happened. And it actually, in the communication log, it actually tells you exactly the number, what number, lottery ticket number they got and what position they got. So, but we haven't ever since I've been here, knock on wood.
Sorry if I jinxed it.
Yeah.
So just looking at this, this slide. So for kindergarten, the applicants that have preference is like 38 students or something.
Just sibling preference, yeah. Not in district preference.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the way the preference works. So let's say there's 30 open spots for a class. If there are 30 ECS siblings applying, they would all get that, right?
In district would come first. So if there's 30 in district siblings,
Okay.
they would come first. And
So
then,
if you're an out of district student without a sibling or anything like that, you're basically waiting until all of the other preference groups
Correct.
have taken the available spots.
yes,
This is sibling and professional together, right? This last page.
that is, so the blue is just your ECS siblings
Oh, okay.
in district, yeah. And then your like orange part is the out of district ECS siblings. And then we have out of district professional, which is the green, and then the in district professional, which is the red part.
And these are just the preferences. There are way more applicants than there
Yeah.
are preferences.
Yeah, so like if you look at this slide, you'll see that 157 PPS applications for kindergarten. So those 157 would come first before the other out of district students.
So essentially, you would have no chance of getting into the kindergarten class this year if you were from out of the district. And didn't have
It
one.
would, unless you had a sibling preference out of district, yeah.
And how many out of district applicants got a spot in the lottery this year?
So during the lottery, just with those people that had the sibling preference with out of district would have gotten in during the lottery. So we have 75 seats in kindergarten that were open, and we had, since we opened up an additional first grade classroom, we had 30 spots open in first grade. We had 4 spots in second grade. In third, fourth, and fifth, we had like 1 or 2 spots in those grades. And then in 6th grade, we opened up 20 spots. 7th grade had 1 spot, 8th grade had 4 spots, and then 9th grade, we opened up 20 spots.
Looks like there were also some out-of-district students who got the professional preference as well.
Correct.
Is that-
Mhm.
okay.
We had 3 teachers that applied for that preference.
So I'm just curious, how many out of district, if you may not know, how many out of district students do we have in the entire school?
It's
Um,
about 13%.
13%, yeah. So we will, like, we'll let, I would assume we'd let first graders out of district in, 6th graders out of district. So we do go, like this year, our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade all had out of district students get off the wait list.
Our 6th grade?
6th grade, yes.
That were not preferred. They're
They're all preferred.
all preferred.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, thank you.
if you can look at our 6th grade this year, like we had 36 applicants from PPS last year in the lottery for sixth grade. We have 71. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out this year with the preference of in-district, how far we go on the wait list. So that was great that we got, the 71 in-district students. So there's, I think, multiple factors of why we increased that number so much.
Can you talk about the decision to add an additional 20 to both the sixth and ninth grade?
So we tend to have about, we tend to lose about 15 to 20% of our students going to different options for sixth grade. So based on the amount of records requests we've received from students who are looking at other schools, and just based on past data, we opened up those spots instead of waiting until someone definitely tells us that they're leaving, because a lot of the Pittsburgh Public Schools magnet applications were later this year. And so they're going to push them out in the beginning of March. And so we'll have a better idea. But I think it's unsure about what that's going to look like too.
No, it makes sense, right? Like, you think they're going to have a spot.
Yeah.
Why not tell somebody that they're going to get first choice, basically?
Yeah. And I think that, we, especially for the upper grades, we really have to have like people leaving to open up those spots. And so that does not happen until May, because if someone might be moving, they're not going to give up that spot until they're sure for 100%. Like, I bought a house in Florida and we're moving at this time. So we have two people who, like this year, for instance, a first grader and a third grader who were moving to Georgia, but not moving until September. So they weren't going to tell me that they were moving until they moved. So it's just kind of some of that comes into play too.
If we have a student leave mid-year, how does the funding work? Is it just prorated by?
By their days, so we count the days that they're here.
I'm curious how, there's obviously all sorts of reasons that some of which we're never going to know why year to year you're going to get an increase in applicants in certain areas, geographic areas, and with other characteristics. I'm just curious, and I think this year, obviously, the things that are done at ECS, I think probably affecting different ways applications. But I'm curious if seeing some of this uptick and seeing the geographically where some of these are coming from, does that at all track our marketing efforts or anything? Are you able to kind of see whether we're targeting certain areas or students, or if that's effective? I mean, I don't know. I guess.
Yeah. So I know Dina's here, so this is great, because I do a lot of work with enrollment does a lot of work with Dina in some of that communications, and we did do targeted ads and postcards this year.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about the targeted marketing that we've done this year. So for example, Christine talked a little bit about the increase in the numbers for 6th and 7th grade. So this year we did targeted postcards. Our goal for marketing this year was to increase the diversity of our markets in which we were advertising in. So utilizing different organizations to do our marketing, and then also decrease the amount of marketing materials that were not trackable. So that would be decreasing things that we can't put a link to or things that we cannot track. We still have those kinds of marketing tools because that also lends into our diversity of our marketing efforts. But so to kind of go along with your question, we do direct marketing for certain zip codes that have students in certain grades or certain ages, with direct marketing that would target our programming at middle school or our programming at high school. And then we also do targeted marketing for opening that second or that fourth classroom, those extra 26 seats in first grade. And that's usually through direct marketing or targeted marketing through social media for first grade. And then, like I said, the other two were targeted postcards based off of zip codes.
That's great.
Yeah, we look at, two, we do concentrate in the east end of Pittsburgh, because if we do, we wouldn't want to do Wilkinsburg, because it's going to be very hard to get in. And then we also don't want to do like really far where the kids are going to be on the bus for an hour and a half. So we try to balance that, and to do marketing, where kids can, be happy coming to school, and to not have like an hour and a half bus ride.
Questions?
Can we go to the map?
I knew you were gonna want to see the data.
Oh, yeah. Based on, well, I just want to get your thoughts on this map. So I know that we have the aggregate statistics, but I just want to hear, what do you see when you look at this? Can you kind of walk us through like what?
Well, I see the primary and the intermediate school right on the border of PPS. And so we have a lot of concentration of students in that Wilkinsburg area that are applying. I mean, it's one of the places where you can walk. Wilkinsburg does not provide busing. So like to the middle school, they have to get a PRT bus, but they can walk to both of those schools. So I see a large number right around those schools. And then I see a large number around the high school and the middle school and those areas. So we do pull a lot of kids from Highland Park, Lawrenceville, Morningside, Squirrel Hill. And then as you can see, even in that Penn Hills, Woodland Hills area too. A little bit less on the north side, and then a little bit less as you go out to the South Hills. So, I mean, it is, I mean, a lot of people will say like, I drove by your primary school and I saw kids outside and I want to, so that's a big, also where our buildings are located, that they're right in that main area, plus like right by the park for the primary and the intermediate school. And then Morningside, we have a lot of people that apply to the high school because they live really close, and then up here. But I think our targeting efforts for middle school have been good, and we had a really successful middle school showcase this year too that a lot of families came to, and we had some really good feedback on that programming that we did for that. And we did a lot of tours here too.
For sure.
Which we have one coming up, yeah. What do you see? I was wondering. What do you see?
You work in school. Nice.
I need to think about more. But I will say I do see a surprising number of students on the north side, actually higher than expected.
The cluster there, and sort of Beachview, Brookline.
Yeah.
A bunch.
We do have a lot of kids. I think we have two Northside buses, or we have just have one.
Just one more side bus, but it's
packed.
exact capacity.
Yeah.
Is that capacity?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's a lot more kids than I expected applying from that program, especially given the distance that they've traveled to get to schools.
Yeah.
So if you were to map our current students, not just the applicants, would this map look the same or would it look different?
I think it would look the same. Yeah, we have a large north side population. You know all the buses. How many South Hills buses do we have?
There's only one South Hills.
Okay.
It's considered a Brookline bus.
Yeah, and then it also picks up kids in Greenfield, right?
No, that's a different bus. That's
Okay.
bus 8, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, in total, we have 10 buses that pick up all over this weekend, or just city buses. Let me clarify that. 10 PPS buses. So, we can call this, hold on. Oh, gosh. Bus 1, I believe, is inner, like Squirrel Hill, all that stuff there. Bus 2 is north side. Bus 3 I wanna say does like the Hazelwood area, if I'm not mistaken. Bus 4 also does Squirrel Hill, nope, that's not true. Bus 4 is the Brookline bus, the Southport bus. Bear with me here. There's bus 5, I wanna say bus 5 is that bus that goes out further, where there's that, what's that pocket out of
Lincoln Place.
Okay, are you talking about?
Right, so there's a bus that does Lincoln Place and South Side, there's a bus. Bus 6 does over toward the Morningside area, Homewood, whatnot. And then there is bus 8, which does, let me see, I forget what 8 does. And then bus 10, does some of the Squirrel Hill area and also like Bayville District coming, like Bayville District, Bayville and stuff. So, I mean, they're pretty spread out.
Yeah, and,
So it seems like we have a couple buses on the Squirrel Hill though.
There is a couple buses, yeah, because so what happens is because of how many like kids there are in the Squirrel Hill area, they're kind of like, they put them on the buses that are kind of put up at the very end, instead of just having like one bus to all of them.
One bus now.
What'd you say?
A lot of bus knowledge.
One bus now.
Yeah, one, yeah, I mean, you can't tell that that's not language word.
These guys, I mean, so this is amazing work that they do. They do this all year long. It's not just that it happens right now. It's a constant cycle of work, and we're constantly hearing from Christine, hey, we have this to think about or that to think about. So it's an ongoing project, and relatedly, we are going to be bringing forward the lottery policy probably in the March board meeting for a first view and then a month of consideration. Our hope is to get it approved in the spring so that we have it set for the next year and we can be prepped as we go through the summer and get ready to use that policy. Thank you. Yeah, you know,
I think one other thing what I'm just curious about, this is what you were kind of chatting about, is if you look in Bloomfield Friendship, there are, so I happen to live there. I know it's teeming with children, mine included. And it's interesting that we're not getting the same density cluster there as given the fact that the schools out there may be changing. There might be a lot of change happening in that area. So that's just an area that I'm keeping an eye on, not only because I happen to live there, but I think schools in that area are, there are a lot of families that are going to be impacted by some of the proposed changes that are coming up. So I can look at May and down over here, who knows this area as well.
Yeah, it's surprising there's so few that are applicants, right?
But
But the other thing, that they pulled back on the closure of Montessori school before these were due, so there might be more.
Mhm.
Have they decided?
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, with the decrease in enrollment in PPS, that we're holding steady with our applications through PPS, so that's very exciting. Even though we know that PPS's enrollment is decreasing, we're still receiving the same applications, so that's good news. That one would mention.
Questions?
Thank you.
thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so we will move to item 6, which is the consent agenda. I will open it up to comments, questions, if there are any.
As part of that consent agenda, we have a couple of items that we'd like to present, and I know Dina would like to make a presentation around the final site, so when you're ready for that, she's prepared to talk.
Okay, we can do that now unless there are specific questions. I'll do that.
And while she's getting ready, I'll just say, this is a project Dean has been thinking about for a while, and when we first met, like 8 months ago, Dina put this squarely at the front of the top of the list as an item that was really important, and she's been working on it ever since. I mean, she's been working on it before that, but ever since. And so it's done a tremendous amount of work to get us to this point, along with Maddie, who's her partner in this project. So thank you.
Just ask them to connect it to preschool.
That's okay. Maybe we'll connect back to it.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So we're here today to talk a little bit about a new website, but more than that, a new communication system in general. And I want to give the opportunity to let Maddie introduce herself before we begin.
Hi, everyone. This is, I think, my first time meeting a lot of you. I'm Maddie Buckley. I am the digital communication specialist. And this is a project that I'm really excited to work on, and it's something that I will mainly be doing, so, yeah.
Thank you. So as Patrick mentioned, we started this project back in July and started investigating different options for a website as well as communication, a multi-use communication tool. And throughout this process, it began with identifying certain issues and challenges and opportunities that we have to improve our communication strategies. And I apologize, I did not print this out for you all to review like Christine did, but I promise I'll be fast.
Just more typo.
So one thing that we are looking at a lot with our website and communications in general is ADA compliance. And so there's a lot of different legislation that is coming down about ADA compliance specifically for K-12 school districts. And we want to make sure that we're as ADA compliant as possible. And so our current website, we currently use Squarespace. Currently, Squarespace only translates if the user's browser is set into a specific language for them to translate. So it doesn't automatically translate for them unless their browser is set into a different language. So there's a number of things through ADA compliance that we won't go deeply into, but ensuring that our colors, our fonts, our alt text with our photos are all up to compliance is extremely important. From a communication perspective, all of our communications, we use a couple different communication tools that I'll talk about on the next slide, but our communications at this time do not translate. There is limited ability for audio on those communications, but other than that, they're not up to where we would want them to be from an ADA compliant perspective. So as of right now, we're using a couple of different programs for communications. Our goal with this project is to streamline, consolidate, and limit the use of spreadsheets. So for example, right now, to communicate at the district level, we use Constant Contact. The reason we use Constant Contact and not our student information system, ALMA, is because ALMA only allows us to communicate to either the billing level or to individual classrooms, grade levels. It does not allow us to communicate at the district level unless we are sending an emergency alert. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with ALMA and not with Constant Contact, or with Constant Contact and not with ALMA. To get the information into Constant Contact from ALMA, we actually have to go in and pull the data from ALMA, manipulate that data to make sure it fits the fields for Constant Contact, and then upload that. We can't do a massive download, so we have to do it 4 different times, and it takes approximately 2 hours every quarter, and that's the most up-to-date data that we have. So within those quarters, if someone goes in and changes their email, it does not automatically update in Constant Contact, which is definitely a challenge and an issue that we're trying to solve for. Finally, our current website is hosted by Squarespace. Squarespace was not made for school districts. Squarespace, we've been using Squarespace for quite a long time. I've been at ECS for 5.5 years, and the current website that we're using is older than that. And so it's certainly time for a refresh and making sure that our platforms are talking to each other and aligning with each other. So as I mentioned, Squarespace wasn't made for schools. It doesn't integrate with anything. So on top of having to download all of our spreadsheets and uploading them in, we're also copying and pasting our communications from different systems into Squarespace so that all of our communications are going up in multiple different places for people to view however they need to look at those. So this process is obviously very time consuming for staff, confusing and overwhelming for families, a lot of different places to be looking for communications and information in general.
So that kind of brings us to our next part of why would we invest in Finalsite? Finalsite is a CRM, which is a customer relationship management system, and it's also a CMS, which is a content management system. So Finalsite provides a lot of different features that we're looking for. These features are very unique to Finalsite. Some platforms that we've looked at, you can get similar features, but not all features. And as we were researching the different programming, we really thought that Finalsite had a lot of really great uses. It's a multi-use tool and could eliminate some of the challenges that we're currently facing. So streamlined processes. Finalsite has a create once, publish everywhere tool, which essentially means that we're going to put content in and be able to select how we want to publish it, whether that be text, call, the website, emails, anything like that. This ability is going to help us speed up our communication. So for example, it's winter. We've had some delays in call-offs. That process can be quite long and tedious. So whenever that happens, we have multiple different places that we have to update to say, hey, we're having a 2-hour delay. So by doing the create once, publish everywhere, that's going to speed up our crisis communication system, which means that families are going to be getting information faster and more consistently. They have around clock 24/7 help desk. They also allow for integration with our ALMA system. And so that's a big one. We're no longer going to be handling this raw data spreadsheets. It's automatically going to integrate into ALMA or into Finalsite from ALMA. So that is the most up-to-date real-time information that we could possibly get. There's a lot of different abilities with it as well. It allows us to scale. So while we're not growing a great year anymore, we still are scaling our programming. We're still expanding our athletics and different spaces there. So it allows us to expand that as well. So allowing for multi-users from an athletics portal, a staff portal, family portal, and student portal. And so having those capabilities is going to make it kind of a one-stop shop for communications. So the total investment for Finalsite, and so this number up here actually includes $2,500 of a two-way chat feature that after further investigation, we don't believe we actually need, but this would be the max number that we would have to spend for the implementation of Finalsite. But through that, we're going to get a website with a theme design, professional SEO capabilities, which is search engine optimization. That is how the browser crawls the website and identifies where you can fall whenever people are searching for your organization in the search engine. Content migration, so that means what's on our website right now, they're going to help transfer that over. While they're doing that, they're also going to be looking at our content and seeing ways that we can optimize that. So, minimizing the number of pages that we have, and then optimizing the use. On the external side of this, parents, families, any stakeholders are going to be able to easily navigate our website as we're working with a professional that is specifically tailored to charter schools. Like I said, this comes with different portals like athletics and faculty, calendar forms, payment system. Streamlined communication capabilities, once again, create once, publish everywhere. Automated attendance. So this is something that we've been talking a lot with our student information system team as well as our attendance team, is having the ability to integrate with ALMA, and whenever a student is absent, automatically being able to send a message home to tell that family that their student wasn't in school that day. Unlimited email, text, calls at any time. Currently, we can only call and text based off of someone's preferences in ALMA, and it can only happen at either the district level or the building level. That means that if our students are potentially out like on a field trip and we need to send an emergency alert to just those individuals at that field trip, we currently have to download that list, fix that list, upload it into Constant Contact, and then send the text message that way. Not to mention that Constant Contact has mandatory quiet hours between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. So if anything happens within those hours, we cannot utilize Constant Contact for emergencies, which makes it quite challenging and not the best use. And then, yes. And then finally, they provide accessibility. So as much as, Maddie and I know around accessibility, there's always new things coming down. They have experts on their side that are going to ensure that our website is ADA compliant. And they also partner with Audio Eye, which is a system that goes through your website and can fix any kind of, for most ADA issues, as someone is loading your web page. So it automatically identifies those issues and corrects them on the spot. So an annual fee for Final Site is going to go around $17,600, and then because we are just migrating to Final Site this year, there will be a setup fee of $8,500. So those costs kind of seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, there's a number of things that Final Site is actually going to replace. So based on the little bit of information that I've given about our work in just the communication department of downloading the spreadsheets, uploading spreadsheets, we're estimating just for our department alone that it's going to save us around $3,000 for our department. This platform will replace Constant Contact. That's about $1,500 annually. And then also it is going to turn off our attendance calls and school messaging through the Alma system, and that will transfer over to Final Site as well. So attendance is around $1,500, and then school messaging is around $20. And then finally, this is actually going to replace our SchoolMint micro website for enrollment. So currently we are utilizing two websites, one for enrollment and one for ECS in general. We're going to combine those websites and make them into one, and that is going to save us annually around $10,000. So for a total of about almost $17,000 will be saved by transferring over to Final Site. That's not to mention some of the other costs that we just cannot calculate. So this is going to save some time for our office managers from an attendance perspective, as well as some other departments. It's going to help provide different preferences for people to go in and actually update the website based off of their preferences. So for like athletics, being able to be able to manage their own pages. Okay, and then so just to let you guys know how we kind of got to this moment. So like I said, we kind of started this process back in July. And through this process, we've had several meetings. We've talked to several different stakeholders in our organization. Messages have gone out to our lead teachers who communicate on a weekly basis. They've reviewed the information. They've provided their feedback via email. We've had department meetings, so department heads have been included in that. Attendance meetings, meetings with our student information system. We've taken Final Site information to our PCO as well, so the parent organization has also been pulled into this. And then we've also talked to the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. They were able to provide a vetting report for the platform that let us know different pieces of good, bad, anything like that. For full transparency, the AAU report did come back with a couple of yellow and red markers, not necessarily indicating that they were bad, but mainly just indicating that certain things were not listed and they were currently unknown. The unknown pieces were just FERPA compliance and COPA compliance, as well as ownership as data. All that information has been identified in Final Site's master's agreement in section 7, 8.2, and 9.2. So those concerns have been attended to. I do have the report, and I also do have the Final Site master service. If anyone wants to take a look at it, I can also email that information as well. So next steps. I just want to be completely transparent as well. This is kind of our tentative plan. Of course, it's going to be a huge project, so it's likely things are going to come up that we just can't anticipate yet until we're actually in the system. But ideally, we would like to come up with a decision in February with your help. And then we would start website redesign as soon as possible right away. We will work through that until about May, and I will primarily be working with Final Site. They're going to kind of coach me through the system. In June, I'm really going to focus on learning the final system and also identifying areas that parents or staff may struggle with and kind of creating a toolkit. Maybe that's how-to videos, maybe, that's being present at events or an information session, kind of making sure that I'm going to be prepared to answer any questions that anyone would have with this new system. July, we want to launch the new website, and then fall is kind of when we would start to implement it. It might be a slower rollout, pulling in people that are really going to be working with the website a lot, like, principals, office managers, those kind of people, slowly get them integrated into it. And then we'll move on with giving teachers permissions and that kind of stuff. We've spent a lot of time and research on this, and we really strongly feel that Final Site is the best solution and is going to work with us as we continue to grow and as the organization continues to grow. There's a lot of room for growth within the website itself. Just our proposal now doesn't even include every feature. It's just what's necessary now. But as we grow, we might find that, these are important to us in the future. So we welcome any questions, and please let us know your thoughts.
Can you describe, like Alma? It seems as though, it's a student family portal, right? What would prevent you from using Final Site to replace Alma as well?
So Alma is our student information system. It's not necessarily a parent portal. So Alma includes, Alma has like grades on there. It is this kind of the student hub for where all the student information is housed. I believe like IEP information, 504 information, it's all housed there. That is a capability that Final Site does not have. Student information systems are the piece that help connect us into all of our other systems, essentially.
And I'll just say that in our conversations with delegating intermediate unit, when they were, we had an initial conversation with them after they'd done all their work, and still haven't received their report. But one of the things that they talked about was finding a way to better integrate all of the different applications that we have. And this clearly fits into that category. And as Dina said earlier, she reached out to them just to talk a little bit about that and make sure this aligned with some of the recommendations that at the time we were contemplating.
Does this also replace Diligent Community?
No.
No, not at this time.
But does it integrate in there, just because of the board docs and everything else that we work with? So policies and whatnot, with that.
So Diligent's going to remain the same, although if I remember correctly, there's a functionality that we might eventually look at as it relates to this tool. So that's a down the road possibly we wanted to do kind of thing, I believe. But for now, the plan is to create a website page that would basically be the board page where we could do certain things more frequently and more easily, and then have the portal that we currently use, Diligent, would be the same backend or same portal that it currently functions as. But we might eventually replace that as well.
Yes, so Final Site does have the ability to have documents housed, similar to how Diligent Community does. At this time, is something that we would potentially consider for the future.
And on the cost side, how long is that contract for? So it's 17.6 for year one. Is it flat for a period of time, or are there escalations?
It's 17.6 for 5 years.
Thank you for putting this all together. Someone says if you anticipated our question about the cost. But thank you for the breakdown there. I just want to paraphrase what you said. That cost is inclusive of chat that we're not going to be using. Is that right?
Yes, so the 17.6 is inclusive of a two-way chat that we have identified that our current Ring Central actually does. And so we do not need that function, and it's $2,500 that will be reduced.
Every year.
Correct.
Okay. And then from the lottery perspective, I know that I see the integration with that's going to replace SchoolNet, but that's it's, if I get that right, it's only going to be the portal, the front page of lottery. Lottery will still be taking place on school.
Correct. So right now, we utilize two websites, one Squarespace and one is through SchoolNet Engage. SchoolNet Engage website will no longer be needed, and so that will disappear. Final Site does have enrollment capabilities that we have reviewed with our enrollment team. Our lottery is complicated and has a lot of preferences, and so right now we aren't going with their enrollment platform, but it's something that if they were able to adjust or change things in the future, that could also be a possibility. But as of right now, for the lottery itself, we will continue to use SchoolNet.
And then I saw that there was a limit of 50 pages on this
50 pages of migration.
migration. Okay. So hosting, there's no limit in terms of,
Correct.
it's just migration.
Yes.
And anything more on top of that, they would probably, there would be enough.
Correct. But I think one of the big pieces of this is that right now we have a lot of pages on our website and a lot of pages that need optimized. And so when you go through that process of transferring your current website over to a new website, most likely a lot of the pages that we currently have are going to be rolled into each other to optimize them.
And that helps a lot. And so, and then the last question, I think you mentioned this, but this would not impact anything on the like classroom videos or anything like, if there's any kind of engagement, classroom engagement, this is completely separate from that.
Yes, so there is classroom communication capabilities that are rolled into the overall product. At this time, most of those capabilities are going to be through like integration with Alma to communicate at more like granular levels. If that's something that we ever wanted to explore in the future, we could. But Google Classroom is still going to remain. This does not replace. This is not a, as I mentioned, it's not a student information system, and it's not that. Thank you. Classroom management system. It's not one of those. Learning management system. It's not one of those.
And last question, I promise. Do they, will they give us access to, is there an API on the back end that will provide access like to the endpoints? Will we be able to access that programmatically?
Yeah, so we have access in the back end for like anything like a communication log, any kind of and that's the communication log too, is like if a staff member were to leave and their email was no longer applicable, we would be able to get access to any of the communications that were still sent. So there'll be a communication log, and then we have access to that in the back end for a year easily, and then after that year they archive it, and if we need information from years past, we're able to reach out to them for that technology support. It also provides all of our analytics and data as well.
And that 17 on an ongoing basis includes the ongoing support to the service level that will be stated in the contract.
Correct. And one thing that we actually didn't mention is that this also comes with a mobile app. And so that mobile app also has web developers that go behind that and have 24/7 support through that as well.
Two security questions. I just saw there's payment systems integrated into this. So I think currently like the PCOs collects money via PayPal and things like that. Is that all going to go away and it'll all be through the website and handled securely, more securely?
I think that's a question that we're going to be talking a little bit more about with finance, but I think the goal would be to minimize the amount of different payment systems that we're utilizing.
And then secondarily, also on security, it seemed like our ad hoc systems were kind of built in security because you can do a lot of manual work to send in all hands. How will all hands communications be secured essentially? Who will be the keepers? And is there a policy that we'll be considering, Patrick, to make sure we can send all hands, or?
I'd say more like a procedure. So we put something in place this year that answers that, and we'll look at that as we go through this process.
Yeah, and the other piece with Final Site is that there are very specific permissions that we can set that allow us to indicate who has access to what list and who can send to what.
What are you just using Google AdWords and Google Analytics right now for your kind of marketing analysis? Is this kind of replacing other marketing kind of analytics tools that you use already?
So Final Site, we will be integrating G4 Analytics into Final Site. That's what's currently integrated into Squarespace so that we can continue to track metrics. There's a number of reasons that we would do that, mainly from a marketing perspective, as we utilize unique URLs for like our postcards and things like that. We're going to want to keep track of that regardless. But in the back end, we'll be able to, we no longer would have to use Google Analytics to understand our traffic flow for our website. That will all be built into Final Site's analysis.
Been a number of comments and questions, and very good ones. This is a good discussion, I think, and to provide some thought about this tremendous amount, which I really appreciate. I think these kind of things, sometimes they get set up, everyone's okay with it, and then, nobody looks at it again forever, and that, obviously, this is a real opportunity for us, but, one question I do have about, related to some of the comments is that, we talked about different areas where we might in the future want to do this or might want to do that. They may change their platform in certain ways that add certain features that it may. It's a 5-year contract. Does it have built into it that also that ability to be flexible in certain areas and take on, if we do, diligent, for example, if that's something we wanted to do, is that built in a way that it's not going to be, because obviously at the beginning of the contract, they have this onboarding stuff that they're doing, and they're not going to, I just want to make sure that that's in there, I guess.
Yeah, so we're working with someone named Phil. He's a charter school specialist that has a lot of information around charter schools and understands that there are a couple of tools within Final Site that we are interested in, just not at this time. He did walk me through the process of when you get certain tools and combine them together, that actually decreases your cost for the overall programming. And so he is aware that at some point we might want to add those on, and that they'll honor how that pricing works. It kind of comes together as like a bundle. So if you end up bundling, it essentially decreases your overall price.
So just to clarify, maybe I misunderstood. Are we signing a 5-year contract, or do we just have the price locked in for 5 years?
So we would be signing a 5-year contract, but it is flexible to add on additional pieces.
But we're locked into, because right now we'd be approving just the payment for the first year, so.
So
We would be signing a 5-year agreement with them, that would be.
it's a 5-year agreement, and then that's it locks us in at the price of $17,600. Unless we were to alter that contract and add additional capabilities.
Do you know, does that contract have the ability to terminate early or anything like that?
I believe it does. I'd have to just double check that, but I believe it does.
Okay, this is a question for you. I'm looking at the website, but do you have any sense of from a counterparty perspective, what's the chance of Final Site's funding? What are they like as an organization? Do we have to worry about them essentially going belly up?
I do not think that is a worry. If you look at a lot of the school websites in our area, at the bottom you will see that they're powered by Final Site. Final Site is a sponsor for major education symposiums, and they've been around for quite a while.
Any other questions?
We have 2 other contracts that people have questions about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone have questions about either of the other 2 contracts? Going once? Okay. Any other points before we vote on the consent agenda?
Just a technical matter to add this point out. Do we need to adjust what we're approving from a value standpoint? We're not approving 26-1, but we're actually approving for value of 5 years.
I don't know if,
It's not written in the resolution. I don't know if you have to correct evidence to reflect that.
the whole point of the number, I suppose, is it's obviously over 10,000 either way, is that it's been flagged for us. I don't think, we can approve it at any value essentially. And I think it's hard. That's why I asked about early termination. If there's early termination, it's kind of, it's up to, it's hard to assess what the value of the contract is if you can get out of it early.
I guess my request then would be just to reflect that's a 5-year contract with that amount.
Yeah.
Reflect that in minutes, but I don't think that affects our.
So does that mean that every year this would appear on the consent agenda again to allocate the money?
So it's like, so this is an interesting question. We are actually talking about this with the solicitor for PTS and our contract, our charter agreement, but what I would say is most immediately it will appear in the budget each year. as an item that the board would, approve as part of the budget. So that's the most immediate thing. And then you would have to approve payments over a certain number at a certain time during the school year. And this 17,000 would probably qualify as above that threshold number. Does that make sense?
Just to say, like, it's not gonna be like, we're not gonna hear about this again for 5 years.
You're gonna look at it every day.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna go on the website. But yeah, no, I think it's fair to say you'll at least hear about it twice. Once when you approve, twice a year. Once when you approve each budget. And then, because it's probably, depending on what the threshold number gets set at, because it's probably gonna be above that threshold number, the board will likely have to approve it at some point during the payment, at some point during the school year.
Yeah, we see all the payments.
Exactly.
But yeah, the contract will be signed, so we won't necessarily we will be committed to make the payment,
Assuming we stay in the contract.
we stay in the contract. Okay, no, that's a good question.
Can I ask one question, one last question for you? Was this amount at all scaled to the number of students we have, or was it was just that's what their blanket?
Correct. So, for example, we did investigate other platforms such as MoreWeb and Parent Square. Parent Square is an application that's similar to Final Site, does not have as many capabilities. Parent Square did scale to our students, so it would indicate like cost per student, but Final Site does not have that.
Is it cost per seat maybe, or is it just,
I'm sorry?
is it just flat, or is there also a cost per seat for like administrators or?
It's a flat fee for their specific bundle, so each bundle has a different cost associated to it.
Thank you.
All right, no other questions? I'm gonna read the resolution and then we're ready to vote and then we'll vote. Resolution 2025-02-2147 be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that the consent agenda for February 19th, 2025 be approved. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. All right. Number 7, new policy adoption. For all of them, sure, our audience at home, just to clarify, just so everybody's on the same page, we've been doing a policy review, and these 4 policies were introduced, so to speak, at the last meeting and asked for public comment. And we are now getting ready to vote on them. And so I would think probably the best way to do this is for me, unless, I guess we can first discuss if anybody, I know we were brought up at the last meeting, but if anybody has any questions or comments about any of these policies, anything else, time to talk about them.
Did we receive any public comments on any policies?
We received no public comments. We did receive comments from the board, and the red line document that's in front of the board reflects the changes that we incorporated from the comments that we received.
I don't know, this is probably like a minor point, but I just hadn't noticed this before, but in the open records policy, if you go to the last page of it, would it make sense to just remove Dina's name and email address, just make it more generic, like email the open records officer? I don't know if it matters, but like,
We could certainly do that.
there may be, hopefully not anytime soon, but someday that doesn't work here.
We can do that. We could just, a generic email is what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
We can make that change.
I don't have a problem with that.
Dina would be happy. Although she's not giving up that responsibility, I just need to say, she's good. She's good.
Any other questions or comments? Are we ready to vote? I will, I'll start with the first one here. Okay. Resolution 2025-02-2148. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that the policy 206 civility be approved. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Resolution 2025-02-2149. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that the policy 210, open records, be approved. Move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 2025-02-2150. Be resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that the policy 211, record retention and destruction, be approved.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 2025-02-2151, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the school that the policy 502, investment, be approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's fine. And just to clarify one thing, that these are listed as new policies. These are not new policies exactly. These are amended policies. So we are amending these policies. The only thing I forgot was Adam, your question about the open records policy. If we could make that change. I guess that's already on the record technically. Sounds good. So moving on to number 8, again, related to previous point, these are, we have a number of policies that during our policy review process, which has been ongoing for a few months now. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 policies, 6 of which are current policies, 1 of which is a proposed new policy on workplace relationships that are up for review. So we will be accepting, these will be posted, and we will be accepting public comment on these policies. And hopefully we'll be discussing them and voting on them the next board meeting or in the near future.
Stan, real quick, for anyone who might be listening or listening back to the recording, where can they find policies and how do they submit comments?
And what's the deadline for?
And then what's the deadline?
That's a good question. I will defer to Patrick on that one.
So if people go to the ECS website and go to the board member link, it'll take them to the portal and they'll be able to see policies and they'll find them in the public portion of the policies. This, I think, just going back to the website, this might be something we want to think about changing when we adopt a new website and think about making it a little bit easier to connect for things like this. But nonetheless, it's easy enough to find them. And if people have comments, they can email directly.
It goes to the board.
Yeah,
The board general email.
Yeah, you can use the board general email, or they can obviously email me directly, patrick.dowd@ecspgh.org, or the board. And then we'll receive those comments and consider them as we would any comments. And I would recommend that they do them in the next 3 weeks. If they come in at the very last minute, we can consider them. So it's basically a 30-day public comment period. But ideally, we have a week to preview them and share them with the board through the executive committee.
Yeah.
But we'll consider them up to the last minute.
the earlier the better, just because of.
And by the way, if people come and make public comment, and the board could amend it here at the table as well.
Certainly, that's true. Of course, the earlier is always better, just because the more time we have to consider something and deliberate about it, the better. But,
And we will be reviewing these again in the in the appropriate time frame. So it's not speak now forever.
And I don't think, when these are in the record, I don't think I need to read these into the record. Unless nobody else does. Okay. So we will move on to, and thank you, Patrick, for continuing to supply us with the steady supply of calls. Right through this, and that's a lot. So I appreciate it. Number 9, business. First item is the executive committee report, which is me. I don't have much to report. Again, as I think I do regularly, I just want to remind our members and also anybody in the public that we're always interested in opening up the board to people who are interested in potentially joining the board, or if folks on the board have know people who might be interested, please let me know, let anybody on the board know, and we can explore that. Other than that, I don't really have too much to report from an executive committee standpoint. I'm in good shape, but I will. I don't know if we have a governance committee report, which is the next item. Does anybody know? I don't know if Dave's still on
I think
that.
Dave had to drop.
Okay, so we will move on. Do we have an education committee report?
Sure. It's brief. Okay, so when we met, we talked about a number of items. One of them was the lottery, and we heard a lot about that already. So then jump ahead past that and say that we were also provided with a number of updates, like that the tech audit from the IU is like fully integrated and happening. The principal search is out into the world, capturing your language correctly. Yes, the principal search for the high school is out into the world. And then we talked about the PSSA prep that is going on right now, especially because you're expecting perhaps
Yeah, there's
compliance audit. Go ahead, Mandy.
yeah, there's just a renewed kind of interest in PSSAs. We've gotten a lot of emails about monitoring, just generally speaking. So we're making sure that we are just always,
Full compliance.
Yes, full compliance all the time.
Yes.
Making sure we're doing that.
Thank you, absolutely. And then we talked about the PPS audit that happens every year and what that entails. And then finally, we touched upon the emergency operation plan that is being developed by Camille in progress and moving along really, really well.
We are meeting with her weekly. First of all, she's doing a great job. She's doing lots of work already, but among other things, Mandy and Tanya and I are meeting with her weekly and reviewing that plan. And I think she's really starting to think not just about the plan, but beyond the plan. We're very excited about that. And I'll just say that on the principal search, so Good Citizens has posted that position. It is out and available. We have a meeting with them next week to sort of check in on progress. The due date for that is the first day of spring or the Persian New Year, March 21st. It's also my birthday. So hoping for good omens.
That is it.
I learned something new. Thank you, Jill. One thing I should have mentioned in the executive committee report, next to Rohit, Megan did some work on the CEO evaluation
And Matt.
criteria.
And that.
And Matt, thank you. And Matt, I just know it wasn't me. So I appreciate that. I wanted to just give a shout out. Thank you for your work on that. So I'm sure that's coming in well. So finance and facilities report.
Yeah, so the majority of the conversation went over things that we've already talked about, with the contracts and looking over the income statement and balance sheets. So everything looks good. So thanks again, Michelle, for keeping us on track. I think some might be noteworthy that there were a couple of pipe bursts in the school. that were handled well, I think everything went to plan, if I'm going to, the pipe bursting did not go to plan, but the cleanup and the cleanup and everything went to plan, to the point where I think a lot of people in the school may not have realized that there was a pipe burst. So facilities are always something we have to keep an eye out for.
And a great deal of thanks to the team, both at the primary school and the high school, for their flexibility. It's my understanding, I haven't been there today, but it's my understanding that the faculty lounge in the high school is now, I believe the carpeting is being put in today, so I haven't been there yet, but that would be the last step before furniture, and so they've been most accommodating, and the folks in the primary school, so thank you to them.
And then, yeah, I mean, everything that we talked about was a contract, so I think we've actually, in the interest of time, we've already covered all of everything.
Great.
Went over.
All right, thank you, Rohit. Do we have an ECSFT report?
Of course. We're envious. We're envious.
I just have quick notes. Nothing too big, very appropriate. The high school would like to thank the PCO for the snacks and the notes to boost morale after the teachers' lounge flooded. And also to the home office folks for helping to continue to navigate all the shared spaces as the lounge is repaired. And I didn't hear anything from primary. They said they're fine, so that pipe burst must not have been.
It was a frozen pipe, a frozen waistline that backed up a little bit. So. It was not as bad as it sounds, because we caught it before it got too bad.
I didn't have this in my notes, but also shout out to facilities. We got
Yes.
2 new drinking fountains in the intermediate building, which has been really good for student behavior, because we don't have to send all of the 3rd and 4th graders down a flight of steps to another floor where they're not well supervised. So thank you for the drinking fountains. It's made my life much more relaxed. And the union would also like to thank home office for their collaboration and dialogue with the calendar. That's been something, there's always someone grumpy about something in the calendar, but we really, we know there's no perfect configuration of the calendar dates. But over the years, we've shared feedback, and we know you have heard us, and we see the feedback reflected in the newest draft calendar. And I'm just stating that we do need time to get feedback from the discussion from the members, which Mandy and I were discussing earlier. And then finally, Patrick's gonna love this bullet point. The ECSFT appreciates the ongoing conversations around ECS's commitments to the UN Sustainable Development Goals and values such as equity, sustainability, and anti-racism. And the staff had noted that they would appreciate further assurance and protocol related to the challenges and laws that create obstacles for our values. But I did see some of that in that one. A few of those policies might be a good opportunity to message that out to the larger community to quell fears about policy changes. Thank you. Thank you for your work too.
Thank you. So we did get a PCO report. They're happy to read. ECS families enjoyed a fun night out at Hunt Armory Ice Rink on Friday, January 24th. Thanks to the 2024 Blooming Bash, we were able to provide this event free of charge to any ECS family that wanted to participate. We had students from every building there. A huge shout out to Louise Alessiak for organizing. The PCO is teaming up with ECS to combine our BSIS family game night with the math curriculum night on Friday, March 14th at the Intermediate School Cafe. Families, house, bring a game, I don't know what that means, bring a game to play, and a new or gently used game to donate in the raffle in honor of Pie Day. We will also be having a pie bake sale. Again, thanks to Blooming Bash. Last year, we were able to provide this free event to families. This year's Blooming Bash is Saturday, March 1st at the Union Project. Tickets are just $30 and still available. The price of the ticket includes dinner and all the funds to help support the PCO community building initiatives next year, as well as staff appreciation, mini grants, and other PCO funded projects. We would love to see you there. Yes, we would. The auction will go live on February 24th, and there are lots of cool items to bid on. You need not be present to bid on auction items. Thanks to Nick Tulo and Bestie Flavinina for attending the PCO meeting this month. We had our best audience of the year, present to learn about reading, writing, math, culture, and climate at the middle school. We will welcome Alvin Pepper and Peter Wilson on Friday, March 14th, to continue the discussion. The PCO continues to work on the PSIS yearbook, upcoming staff appreciation initiatives, and so much more. As always, thank you for your support. Okay. Other business. The only thing that's here that I know of, and of course, if anyone else has other business, is that the April meeting, which was normally would be held on April 16th, is going to be held on April 23rd, fourth Wednesday, due to spring break. Any other business?
Can you update the Google calendar for that?
We actually, say that again?
I was just saying,
The Google Calendar?
yeah.
Yes, so I will update the Google Calendar, but I will note we won't have to run an advertisement for it because we had actually knew this was coming and had predetermined both when we ran the ad at the beginning of the year that it was going to be April 23rd. So.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else before we go into executive session? Okay. I have a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? All right. We'll go into executive session. Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
After we leave you here, we're
No, we'll go back into that.
Yes.